Stop doing this. Huh? You have no right to say that. The husband boldly entered my home office, disrupting the space whether I was working or not. Why does it turn out like this? Are you serious right now? The husband's face was stern. Even as I worked from home, he criticized me as if I were merely playing around. And he wasn't the only one. It's useless talking to a woman like that. Ah. That's right. I didn't realize we had such a useless woman here. Even bugs are more useful, aren't they? Mom, that's disrespectful to the bugs. Sorry, I just couldn't hold back. Enduring such days became routine. My opinions were ignored, and my daily frustrations were freely vented upon me. Then, one day, as usual, I was in an important meeting at home when suddenly my husband entered the room. However, I did not notice him as I was wearing headphones. Brace yourself. You're unnecessary in this house, just a parasite. I'm in a meeting right now. The mother-in-law who entered later also began to scold. I was turning back to my computer to turn off the camera, when the colleagues in the meeting screamed, "Run!" I turned around in shock. My husband held a bucket over his head and then dumped its contents on me. At that moment, everything felt like it was in slow motion. I felt an intense heat envelop my entire body. Ah! The contents of the bucket were boiling water. Need to disinfect you more. That's still not enough. Realizing the danger, I tried to head to the bathroom. However, my husband grabbed my arm, preventing me from escaping. Where do you think you're going? He pulled me by the arm, dragging me out of the room and into the living room, where the mother-in-law poured more boiling water on me. How about that? Did it disinfect a bit? I wonder. It's quite a big bug after all. Someone like you, a NET, should get out of this house. My fists clenched, I stood up. Perhaps filled with anger, I no longer felt the heat from the boiling water. Of course, that's my plan. I said that to the two of them. Someone like you, a trash, wouldn't survive out there. At that point, I smirked. What are you laughing at? She must have gone crazy. I then revealed my true self to them. You're saying you're the CEO of a company with a revenue of 20 million per year. Don't be absurd. I knew it, she's lost her mind. You don't have to believe me, but you're the ones who will regret it. For such a day, I had made various preparations. I went to my workroom and returned with the divorce papers. Here. The divorce papers. Is this okay? Are you serious? You were the ones who said it first. Ignoring the howling of the two, I left the house. A month later, my husband and mother-in-law came to visit me. This too was part of my plan. I am Courtney Williams, working at a company I started with friends during university. I studied economics in university. But we decided to do something fun and launched an e-commerce site. We handled various products, nearly identical to some major companies. To avoid being overshadowed, we decided to promote a unique concept. What's up, Sarah? Sarah was one of the original members. I've got an idea. What if we focus on products that seem like they wouldn't sell? Huh? Since it's a unique opportunity, let's go for it. I've already got approval from the other members. Looking at the product lineup Sarah suggested, they indeed seemed unlikely to sell. However, they were interesting due to their designs and low prices, and I felt they might just work. That actually might be interesting. Right? Shall we try it? At that time, we were doing this as a play until graduation. Therefore, some members had already secured jobs elsewhere. However, our e-commerce site gradually began to get noticed online. And before we knew it, it was generating significant profit. Especially since I had no job lined up, I decided to continue managing it. By the way, what will you do, Sarah? I'll help you, Courtney. I don't have anything else I want to do. Then let's work hard together. There's something else I want to ask you. I was surprised by her request. No way, I can't do that. Maybe you would be better? Everyone else thinks it's a good idea too. You've decided this without me again. Sorry. So, what do you think? I hesitated, but it was flattering that everyone was relying on me. All right. But in return, I'll need you to work harder than ever as my right-hand woman. My parents gave their permission without any objections. When I told them I would continue as the CEO without seeking employment. Profits continued to rise steadily, and by the time I was 27, the company went public. It was around this time that I met Michael. The chance encounter occurred at a favorite general store. Michael was the owner, a position that had been in his family for generations. It's really cute. Thank you for always coming. Please take your time and look around. Sure. The cozy atmosphere of the shop and its assortment of products, not only from USA but also from abroad, were highly rated by me. I continued to visit regularly. As I visited frequently, we started to have various conversations. Originally, Michael seemed to have been a salaryman. However, his father's death put the survival of the shop in jeopardy. Weren't you anxious? Of course I was anxious. But I grew up here. My mom has a bad back, and I was the only one left. I see. That said, the sales are tough. Then Michael shared a startling topic. Besides, it's a boring story, but when I took over the shop, a person I thought was a friend almost tricked me. Really? Yeah. He was a real estate company president. If I had gone along with his plan, he would have taken the shop too. Despite his laughter, I could feel he had gone through considerable hardships. Because of that, I feel a dislike whenever I hear the title of president. Courtney thought, I'm a president too, but maybe it's better not to say that. By the way, what kind of work do you do, Courtney? I guess I'm an engineer? Wow, that's impressive. It wasn't completely a lie. In fact, when we were setting up the site, I had helped out friends and had some knowledge. There was no turning back now. I continued visiting the shop and bought various products to help out a little. About 6 months after I started visiting the shop, as usual, I went to the shop and Michael invited me out to play. Given all the conversations we had had, our relationship was good. I couldn't immediately agree to go. It wasn't that I disliked the idea. I understood that Michael was serious and cared for his mother. Is it no good? Seeing his slightly lonely face, I agreed to go. I wasn't sure why I acted that way at the time. After several dates, Michael confessed his feelings to me. It was then that I truly realized that I liked Michael. 6 months later, he proposed, and we headed to meet for a marriage introduction. I'm still nervous, though. It's okay. My mom is kind too. I hope she accepts me properly. While we were talking about this, we arrived at his family home. Welcome. You must be Courtney, the one Michael has been talking about. Yes, that's me. The conversation progressed pleasantly from there. So, Courtney, what do you think about living together? Living together? I don't particularly dislike the idea. Courtney thought, maybe that's something that could happen eventually. Good. I'm glad. The broad smile on the mother-in-law's face at that moment remained in my mind for a while. I didn't understand it at all, the devilish side hidden behind her smile. It was just 1 week after we registered our marriage. By the way, what about the house we're going to live in? That's already decided. Huh? I hadn't heard anything about it. I didn't remember having such a conversation before. Let's go for now. Wait a minute. Where Michael had taken me was to the in-laws' house I had just visited recently. Could it be here? From today, we'll be living here. Remember, my mom mentioned it last time?
Ah.
I couldn't believe how foolish I had been. The question from the mother-in-law wasn't about eventually. It was about now. I couldn't just say no at this point. I had to bury deep inside the desire to enjoy a newlywed life just between the two of us. I optimistically thought it would be okay, since the mother-in-law seemed kind the one time we had spoken. I look forward to living with you from today. Likewise, please treat me well. Just one thing to remember. Don't forget that you are now a daughter-in-law in this house. Yes. The next day, the moving truck arrived, and I was allowed to use an empty room as my office. The change started to manifest about a week later. Courtney, do you remember what I told you? That you have become a daughter-in-law in this house. I remember that. Starting today, you'll start working. Then the mother-in-law handed me a broom and dustpan. I'm sorry. I have work right now. Huh? This is more important than that. I was suddenly scolded. Moreover, she kept watching me until I started cleaning. Michael was at the shop and not at home. I had no choice but to follow the mother-in-law's instructions. Have you never cleaned before, Courtney? I have. Then move more briskly. It was as if she had become a completely different person, ordering me around. And this was just the beginning. She would soon start asking for money. The mother-in-law had been a housewife and was not currently working. Remember, this is also part of a wife's duties. Courtney thought, that's not true at all. But I couldn't say that outright. I understood that much. After that, she did whatever she wanted. While I was out, she would eat the food from the fridge. And even order expensive seafood for delivery, making me pay for it. Of course, I couldn't eat any of it. I need to talk to you about something. Sure. Tell me anything. It's about your mother. I could instantly see Michael's face cloud over. What about Mom? How should I put this? She's been quite harsh towards me. I tried to put it as mildly as possible. I see. What exactly has she been doing? I explained everything that had happened so far. As I spoke, he nodded along, so I hoped he would finally take notice and say something. However, that night, it happened during a meal with the three of us. Courtney, you went and tattled to Michael, didn't you? I looked at Michael. He didn't seem to care at all about what I said and continued eating. You really shouldn't meddle. That was. I silently pleaded with Michael to say something. Michael put down his chopsticks and sighed quietly. It seems there's a misunderstanding. So I'll clarify, dealing with my parents is also part of a wife's duties. It was the opposite of what I had hoped he would say. Michael is right. You should just work for us. We don't need your opinions. That's a bit too much. Respecting your parents is basic. If you can't even manage that, what are you good for? It was clear that they were not understanding me at all. I hadn't married this man for this kind of life. After that, Michael finished his meal and returned to his room. Left alone with the mother-in-law, I had no way to fight back. If this happens again, you'll skip meals. I chose not to respond. But that only seemed to fuel her more. Are you listening? Looking down, she splashed water on me. When I raised my head, the mother-in-law was just smirking. I stood up to return to my office, but she stopped me. There's still cleaning up to do, right? That's your job. Biting my lip, I returned and began clearing the dishes. We're not monsters. As long as you do what you're told, that's enough. Courtney thought, what are you talking about? You're practically a monster already. Do you have something you want to say? No, nothing. After finishing the chores, I headed to my office. It was the only place in the house where I could be alone and undisturbed. I needed to think about what to do next. I couldn't continue being used like this in this house. I thought about consulting my parents. But the memory of their happy faces when I told them I was getting married came back to me. Courtney thought, I can't upset them. It had been only 6 months since the marriage. If I just did what was asked, there wouldn't be any complaints. I had to gather my resolve. I could bring up divorce when the time was right. That was my plan. You seem motivated today. It seems I had misunderstood before. From now on, I'll work hard for this household. That's the right attitude. When I nearly perfected the household chores, strangely enough, the usually complaining mother-in-law began treating me kindly. Eventually, we even started going out together. Courtney thought, maybe I should have been doing this from the start. From then on, I could live peacefully, except for Michael. Michael seemed displeased that I was getting along with his mother. I hadn't realized it before, but Michael was quite a mama's boy. That's when Michael decided to separate me from his mother. Sorry, but I need you to mind the store starting tomorrow. Mind the store? But I work from home too. It's not like it's a big deal. Besides, you can bring your computer with you, right? What will you be doing in the meantime? Huh? Isn't that obvious? I'm taking a day off. I couldn't help but sigh. You'll do it, right? Honestly, I liked the shop itself. Thinking positively, if I could work in that atmosphere, it might be okay. Okay, but I can't do it every day. All right. Since Thursday is the closed day, I'll need you from Monday to Wednesday. I agreed to that and started tending the shop. However, customers hardly ever came. There were days when not a single person would visit from morning till evening. So, I decided to try listing our products on an online shop and promoted it using social media. Gradually, our sales began to increase. It looks like sales have been going up recently. That's right. It must be because of my good taste, huh? Maybe so. Most of the products in the store were selected by Michael. I acknowledge that much. However, products don't sell just because they're stocked. In reality, it's fair to say it improved because of my efforts. I deliberately hid that fact, thinking it wouldn't be recognized anyway. Then, a misunderstanding Michael began to go even further off the rails. Hey, what's with that? Oh, this? I've wanted it for a while so I bought it. Cool, right? Michael had bought a luxury car without consulting anyone. Without consulting anyone? While we were arguing, the mother-in-law returned from shopping. What are you two doing? Michael bought a car on his own, using almost all of our earnings. At that time, my relationship with the mother-in-law was good, so she took my side smoothly. What are you doing? We don't need something like this. Michael ended up being lectured by his mother. Apparently, he couldn't stand up to her and could only make excuses. Don't nag. Hiding it would only delay the inevitable. It would come out sooner or later. Damn it. To be honest, including my income, we weren't short on money. But continuing this way would surely ruin us. I wanted to avoid affecting not only Michael but also the mother-in-law. So, I thought if there was no money available, that would solve it. I reduced the stock in the online shop, and the plan succeeded. Since I was also in charge of managing the sales data, Michael only knew the sales figures I reported. So, how are the sales this month? It seemed Michael hadn't learned his lesson yet. They're about this much for this month. That little? Isn't that a bit low? That's the challenging part of business, isn't it? Well, I suppose. Months went by as I adjusted the reported earnings. Then one night, Michael made a shocking accusation. You've been fudging the store's sales, haven't you? What? I'm not doing anything like that. It's strange that sales would suddenly drop every month. Are you embezzling? Do you have any proof? It started when you began managing the shop. That's when sales started falling. That doesn't mean I'm skimming money, does it? Are you arguing again? She's been fiddling with the sales and putting it in her own pocket. Courtney. I haven't done anything like that. The argument continued with neither side backing down. The day ended with the mother-in-law's intervention. But 2 days later, the situation took an unexpected turn. It turns out you were taking the shop's money after all. This topic again? I told you I didn't do it. Then what is this? Michael was holding an envelope. It appeared to contain several $1,000s. This was found in your office. You were hiding it, but too bad, now everyone knows, right? Mom? With this much evidence, it seems we have to accept it as true. Wait, please. I didn't do anything. Believe me. Stop embarrassing yourself. Just admit your guilt. Courtney thought, I've been framed. I hadn't expected him to stoop to this. Looking at the mother-in-law, she seemed completely convinced by Michael. It's a shame. I thought we had finally become close. Mother-in-law. I really didn't. Enough already. At that moment, I felt everything we had built up crumbling down. A hellish time was starting again. Forbidden from going to the shop, I was as if confined at home, forced to take care of the household. Not only was I expected to handle all the housework, but I was also increasingly being woken up in the middle of the night to run errands to the convenience store. Hey! What's with this awful meal? Are you joking? Normally, the mother-in-law would intervene in such situations, but now she ignored it all. Don't be too harsh on her. But she needs to understand her place, right? Courtney. Yes. Then the mother-in-law threw the meal I had prepared into the nearby trash can. What are you doing? It tasted bad. So, make it again. Right now? Of course. What you did was like stealing. This punishment is nothing compared to that. Maybe we should eat out instead of risking another bad meal? That sounds good. So that's settled. Finish up here. The two of them left to eat out, leaving me alone at home. I realized that living with these people was impossible. I quickly finished cleaning up and secluded myself in my room. I had contributed to the shop's sales, so I decided to shut down the online shop. This would surely impact them later. In reality, the sales were virtually non-existent even before I started managing the shop. By the time they realized this, I would no longer be in this house. I also cleverly used my shopping trips to obtain a divorce form, planning to present it at the best moment. It happened while I was working as usual. Michael barged into the room, rummaging through shelves and drawers, suspecting I was hiding money somewhere. Stop this already. Huh? You have no right to say that. Why does it have to be like this? Are you serious? Michael's face was earnest. Perhaps because it was his own lie, he couldn't back down halfway. Even though I was working from home, he accused me of just playing around. And it wasn't just Michael. It's useless talking to a woman like that.
Yeah.
That's right. To think we have such a useless woman here. Even bugs are more useful, aren't they? Mom, that's an insult to bugs. Sorry, I just couldn't hold back. Enduring such days was my daily life. Even if I voiced my opinions, they were ignored, and they freely vented their frustrations on me. Then, one day, as I was conducting an important meeting at home, Michael suddenly entered the room. However, I didn't notice him because I was wearing headphones. Brace yourself. Someone like you isn't needed in this house. Just a parasite. I'm in a meeting right now. The mother-in-law who entered later also started berating me. I was about to turn off the camera to face my computer when the colleagues in the meeting yelled, "Run." Startled, I turned around. Michael was holding a bucket overhead. Then suddenly threw its contents at me. In that moment, everything seemed to move in slow motion. Then, my whole body felt as if it were on fire.
Ah.
The bucket was filled with boiling water. Need to disinfect some more. That's still not enough. Realizing the danger, I tried to escape to the bathroom. However, my husband grabbed my arm and I couldn't get away. Where do you think you're going? He pulled me by the arm, dragging me out of the room and into the living room, where the mother-in-law then poured more boiling water on me. How about that? Did it disinfect a bit? I wonder. It's quite a big bug after all. Someone like you, a NET, should just leave this house. I clenched my fists and stood up. Perhaps filled with anger, I didn't even feel the heat from the boiling water. Of course, that's my intention. I told them both off. Someone like you, a trash, won't be able to survive out there. At that point, I smirked. What are you laughing at? She must have gone crazy. I then revealed my true self to them. You're saying you're the CEO of a company with a revenue of 20 million per year. Don't make me laugh. She must have lost her mind. You don't have to believe me, but you're the ones who will regret it. For such a day, I had made various preparations. I went to my office room and returned with the divorce papers. Here. The divorce papers. Is this okay? Are you serious? You were the ones who said it first. Ignoring the howling of the two, I left the house. My destination was my parents' home. I paused at the doorstep, reluctant to enter in such a manner. Then, I heard a voice from behind. Turning around, there stood my mother. Kanami? What's wrong? Mom. Sensing something was amiss from my demeanor, my mother kindly ushered me inside. How is it? Tasty, right? Yes. Your coffee is always the best. So, what brings you here at this hour? Well, I explained everything that had happened to my mother. Normally gentle, she was furious this time. What is that? That's unbelievable. But I've made various preparations for this. Really?
Yeah.
We waited for my father to come home. And I recounted everything that had happened to him as well. My father wanted to confront them immediately, but I stopped him. Why stop me? My precious daughter has been treated so terribly. Calm down a bit. They'll come looking for us eventually. What do you mean? Just wait and see. It'll be worth it. That night, I received a call from Sarah. Are you okay? It was chaos after you left. Sorry, things got even more complicated afterward. Are you okay now? For now, yes. I've come back to my parents' house. About today. I'm sorry. It was during an important meeting. At this point, I remembered something crucial. Sarah. We always record the meetings for documentation, right? Yes, like always today. Oh. Are you thinking what I think you are? Did you catch on? Yes. Can you send that to me later? Okay. Unexpectedly, I had obtained the strongest evidence. That night, I slept soundly for the first time in a long while. A month later, Michael and his mother came looking for me. Please help us. I've been waiting for this. What? You're out of money and in trouble, aren't you? You're the CEO, right? We're still married. We'll have to give up the shop if things continue like this. That's none of my concern. About that divorce paper you gave me. Oh, did you bring it with you? Michael pulled a folded divorce paper from his pocket. Can you hand it over quickly? This means nothing. Saying so, he tore it up. Courtney thought, that's meaningless to you only. See? Just give up and come back. Let's live together again. Talk in your sleep, why don't you? I had one more card up my sleeve to drop them further into despair. Just come back without any fuss. That's impossible. You'll understand once you see this. I showed them the video of the meeting, which clearly captured them pouring boiling water on me. You see now? When did you even? You'll never understand, will you? What? This is solid evidence of domestic violence. And I was about to go to the police. Shall we go together? Michael? What do we do? Wait a moment. I'm thinking. They seemed on the verge of arguing among themselves when my father came out. Courtney. Dad. I thought I'd say a word. I need to pay back for how they treated my daughter. Seeing my father, Michael and his mother were visibly shaken. Perhaps we should just give up. I can't back down here. You should listen to your mother. Now, what shall we do with these two? Father was more than ready to take action. It's a hassle, maybe I should just call the police. I pulled out my phone. Seeing this, the two of them fled the scene, though there was really nowhere for them to run. Stupid, running as if there's somewhere to go. There was still more to come. If you had stepped in, Dad, we would have needed the police for a different reason. My father and I shared a laugh. Now, it was time to finish this. First, I went to the police with the evidence. They began an investigation based on the video. Furthermore, I headed to a law firm to proceed with the divorce. Sarah, thanks for last time. You really helped me out. I just did what needed to be done. Courtney is not only a precious friend but also the president of our company. Is that latter the real reason? Who knows? Afterward, my divorce with Michael was finalized. While he wasn't arrested for domestic violence, he faced a fine. Moreover, considering everything since our marriage, I decided to claim alimony. For Michael, being brought down by his beloved money seemed most fitting. Then, I went to a certain place. Long time no see. Courtney. What are you doing here? You put this shop up for sale, right? Because you couldn't pay the alimony and had debts, huh? Where did you hear that? I had a lawyer investigate Michael. It turned out he had been borrowing regularly to cover living expenses. Moreover, his mother apparently did not know about this. This shop isn't yours anymore. What do you mean? Forgot who I really am? No way, it's you. Exactly. From today, this shop is mine. I'll make good use of it, so why don't you hurry back to your mom? You. She'll probably comfort you, right? Leaving a crumbling Michael behind, I left the scene. After that, I renovated the shop I had purchased, breathing new life into it as a new business. Of course, the sales are doing well. We're still growing and will continue to do so.